Hello, everyone, and welcome to the podcast. This is your host, Lucia Petrusova, and today I have with me my dearest guest, Barb Smith Varclova. Hello, Barb.
Hi.
Barb is a trauma specialist. She is a trauma therapist, international speaker, podcaster, mentor, and educator with specialization in complex PTSD, which stands for post-traumatic stress disorder, and relating coping mechanisms such as eating disorders, addiction, borderline personality disorder, dissociation, and anxiety. Barb is also a founder of a recovery program called Trauma Response Recovery. Barb is also a founder of educational program Complex PTSD Blueprint. Barb began to study how the mind works 30 years ago as a way to recover from complex PTSD. Thank you very much, Barb, for accepting my invitation.
Oh, happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Barb, you are helping humans, you are freeing humans from childhood trauma. And we hear many times people are saying, I had a happy childhood. I do not remember any trauma. Could you please tell us, are we all traumatized, or we were not all traumatized as a kids?
We were not all traumatized. That's true. We cannot say that everybody has some trauma, but more people than they think are traumatized in some level. Yeah, because trauma is not always at the first of all, I would say trauma is a reaction on what's happened in our life. So we often mistaking that trauma is that event, the big events of some car accident or witness the violence or be abused physically, emotionally, or sexually. But that's not trauma itself. Trauma is a reaction on events in our life. So that's can be created with many other events like bullying in the school or really not be understood by teachers or by parents, divorce of parents, or even illness of parents or siblings. If we have situation when we were scared as children, and it doesn't have to be some huge event, it can be something which happened in our life regularly or occasionally, then we can be traumatized even when we thought that we had a happy childhood.
Mm-hmm. And this is my second question. How do we recognize that something is not okay? What are the symptoms? What is happening in our life that it should force us to just slow down, sit, and ask ourselves a few questions?
Very often people waiting to the extreme measures to do that, as that they are burnout and not managing to go into the work, or they start to be very often ill, they would have often cold, they would just feel so tired, or that they would start feeling that they cannot cope with the relationships, that they are depressed, have anxiety, or panic attacks. But it's starting with the smaller signs we can look for them, which could be, do we feel okay to go out with the friends, or we rather isolating ourselves home? Do we feel okay to ask for raise or communicate in the work and easily have public speaking in the meetings or voicing our opinions? If not, something it's not right. Do we have the healthy relationship? Do we have the open and honest communication with our partner? Do we feel respected by our children? So that's signs can be small, and very often when we overlook them and we cannot keep going, they're getting stronger and stronger to the level of maybe pain, maybe really burnout, or starting the struggling with the sleeping, insomnia or nightmares, lack of focus, lack of concentration, outburst of the anger, or just kind of giving up on everything.
Mm-hmm. Your specialization is PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, and I would love to mention that you even created your own training for coaches, for a therapist who would love to learn more. Could you please tell us what PTSD is? What is the difference between PTSD and complex PTSD?
Yeah, so PTSD plus post-traumatic stress disorder, it's reaction of the mind on some usually big event. So with complex PTSD, it's about several long time of the events, and be several big ones, or can be very, ongoing small ones. With the PTSD, it's usually after one or shorter period of time of events, which what is happening in the mind is that mind keep us alive. That's a prerogative, keep us alive. So if it's mean momentarily suppressed our emotions to be able to function and just go to that resistance and just keep going and surviving. So, you fell in the forest, you have broken leg, and you will crawl. Your mind will just flush you with endorphin, adrenaline, and you will crawl because you know that nobody will find you in the middle of forest. So that example, that what is happening in different many events in our life. It can be grieving, it can be a loss of somebody, it can be a car accident, or it can be the result of the violence in military or in personal life attack. And mind suppress it to survive. When what is happening, it gets stored, it gets stuck, and it's not supposed to be there because it's not present. So mind is trying to get it out, but there is kind of that barrier that gets very often, I would say, like stuck in the survival mode, and so it keeps suppressing, and then on the other side it's trying to pushing out. So that's manifesting with nightmares, hallucinations, panic attacks, reactions to this loud noises, anxiety, depression, and complex PTSD. It's have very similar but more severe or more ongoing situations. People sometimes struggle with that they switching between this resilience, like I need to cope, to I cannot, I give up. And very often it's the showing on their health much more than with PTSD itself, because it's kind of about time, with PTSD it's a short period of time, so then it's actually easier to release it. With complex PTSD it's a longer period of time, so it's actually much more stored in the body and needs more time and work to get it out.
Yeah, so with the PTSD, it means that our body and system is still reliving this traumatic, shocking event which happened.
Yeah. I would not say reliving. I think that it's kind of more that staying in that mode of we are in the danger. So we need to be on high alert. We need to be always aware. I call it the rabbit syndrome, high alert, because, when you look on the rabbit, he keep sniffing, he keep moving his ears, always ready to run or freeze. The rabbit actually manifesting all our 4 trauma responses, and or actually even fight. If you put the rabbit to the corner, he will be very aggressive. You don't see it so much about bunnies, but they are, if it's coming to that. And it's about that they kind of they never sleep, is it? Almost like they're very short period of sleeping, they will be very quickly up and always watching for danger. So when somebody has a PTSD, it's about that the mind is in that moment, like what's happening, where it's coming from, how I need to protect myself, struggling to calm, struggling to just relax,
And I would like to mention that many people, they don't know that they are suffering from PTSD. So some clients, they know. Sometimes when they come and they said, I think I have PTSD, I ask, how do you know? So they are searching for symptoms on internet. So this is how they recognize that they have PTSD.
Yeah, many people don't know that they have PTSD, especially people very often don't know that they have complex PTSD because, as I said, it's very often expected that it has to be result on some of these like very visible, dramatic outside events, but it's not always. You know, people developing PTSD after death 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 of parent or grandparent if it was their primary carer, or some people can actually develop PTSD even when they lost a job and get to the absolute desperate situation for them that they cannot get. People would have for example, when they move to another country and they can be coming the cultural shock, which can cause symptoms of PTSD. And very important is that not saying I have PTSD, but I have symptoms of PTSD, because that's actually much wider wider area of things which could happen to us. Yeah.
In your experience, how much time our body in average needs to recover from PTSD?
From my own experience, it depends on how long it is since that event, and also if it was like one-off event or if it was repeated occasions. But from where I have experienced, like some people which one-off event, they can recover in 1 month if with the right tools we're using. Otherwise, it's taking about 3 to 6 months. But it's really important to understand that it is possible, because a lot of people still cannot believe that they are diagnosed, and they are kind of told they learn to live with that and just kind of manage their symptoms. I would just say that it's impossible to manage the symptoms of PTSD because they coming from subconscious level. They have nothing to do with them on conscious level. You cannot control if you will get startled. You cannot control if you will get goosebumps because you hear some noise. You cannot control if you will get gagging reflex because you smell something. So you cannot really manage and learn to manage the symptoms of PTSD, but you can switch them off with the therapy.
Yes, and thank you very much for explaining this to us, because I have also the same opinion as you. We cannot regulate our nervous system with PTSD, because exactly it comes from our subconscious mind, and the root cause is there, and it has to be just released.
Yeah.
Okay, beautiful. Barb, you are working with such cases like eating disorders or a borderline personality disorder. I'm very, very interested to know more. If you can tell us, let's start with the eating disorders.
Eating disorders are very often linked to things which would lead also to the development of complex PTSD. They are actually, I would say, unhealthy coping mechanisms for that trauma which occur in that person's life. But sometimes that trauma, again, can be the things which we don't really qualify as trauma in the first moment. So if you're speaking, for example, about the young girls which would develop anorexia in their teenage years, and a lot of people think that it's very linked to what they see in TV or magazines. It is, but it varies. Actually, small amount of it is to link to that. Very often, it's to link in their position in family. Very often, it's a oldest from children which have that feeling that don't getting attention enough, so not fulfilling the needs really of that person, and they have feeling that they lost control, and they just trying to somehow grab that control. So they try controlling through the food. If we're speaking about, for example, for our bulimia or overeating itself or binging, again, there's related to suppressing emotions and numbing what we feel. So that person living usually in a situation when it's not managing and not believe in own self-worth, don't have this confidence, and just kind of pretending, which is very hard and tiring, and they're looking for some way to numb that feelings of failing and fear and desperation. So with the eating disorders, that process takes about 3 to 6 months to recover when we start working really on the subconscious mind. But improvements are already in the first month, that people changing their habits and behaviors, but they need to really learn how cope different way with that. And about borderline personality disorder, that's one of favorite topics because it's very overlooked diagnosed in the way that is really believed that it's personality issue. It's, that person is just like that, they are born like that, and they cannot be changed. And that's myth. That's like absolutely untrue, because none of the children is born angry. Like, you cannot see angry baby. So nobody is born angry. Yeah, that's always developed somewhere. And we speaking about the trauma responses of fight and flight. Yeah. So fight is anger. That's normal trauma response, is it? We know it, that it's existing. But, and it's same way when we get stuck in the trauma responses, we can get stuck in all four of them or going between them. But some people get stuck in that fight mode. Some people get angry, some people get aggressive, and turning to the violence. Some people get controlling, and so that's one of, unfortunately, regular trauma responses, and it's possible to work with that, and it's work almost like magic. People like say like, wow, because they usually get calm after one session. In first months, they just their personality change. No, they just stop be angry because they release the reason why they were angry, and they can be just themselves.
Yeah, this is beautiful. So what is like, how long is the process when you are working with the client with a borderline personality?
With people with borderline personality, I'm working usually 3 months in my program, trauma response reprogramming, because I have some stages which we need to go through recognizing the trauma, reprogramming, and then find out who they really are without trauma, which often they find out, I don't know, because I was angry so long that I don't know. So they need to find out who they really are without trauma.
Can you tell us a little bit more about the dissociation? This is also one of your specialty.
Yeah. Dissociation, it's kind of like that ultimate response of the mind on trauma. Yeah, the trauma causing so much emotional pain that the mind just kind of start switching off and just like, nope, we will not even think about that. We will just put it on the carpet. We will just put it to some cupboard, put the key on, and lost the key. But of course, it's not working because it's keep coming back. It's trying to get out. So there are several versions of disassociation. We're speaking about dissociative amnesia, which is like people just get lost time. They just, their mind just wanders somewhere and they don't remember what's happening during that time. Sometimes they would go like kind of back in time, and they will come back and they will think that it's different year, and they need to be reminded what time is and day and year is. Then we speak about depersonalization, that people are disconnecting from their body. They don't feel the body. They might feeling that they leaving the body. And then we have kind of what I would say like ultimate trauma response, which is dissociative identity disorder, which used to be called multiple personality disorder, when the mind really start, I would say, splitting. But it's more about that these protective parts and these caring parts and these scared parts start get so loud that they overcome that main voice, because that mind just want to numb it to someone. That's usually a result of very, very severe trauma, very often sexual abuse in childhood. So the most important things when we're speaking about this association is that understanding that because we are able to now understand how it's created, we were able to kind of reverse engineer what's needs to happen to help people to recover and be just one person as the adult they're supposed to be without this really hard part of life of dissociation causing.
Yes, it is like putting all the parts get back together, right?
Yeah.
Okay, beautiful. Barb, could you tell us the stories of your clients, how their lives change after working with you when they are free from trauma?
Yeah, I would really speak about the one young lady, which her life changed so significantly. It's a young mom. She had a 4-year-old daughter, and she her disassociation started even before her daughter was born, about a year before that. And nobody know really like reason. She had a very severe traumatic event in that time, but they don't understand why she developed a dissociation amnesia. And she had a very understanding husband who, you know, always remind her, like in that movie, like, you know, now is the year 2023 and, you know, autumn, and we are married already 7 years, you know, because she would often just switch to the time when she was the girl. To the kind of that safe time. And this kind of example that it's happened because she went through childhood trauma. So mine was already very, very occupied with suppression things. So when this came, this huge, very traumatic event in her life, the mind just didn't cope with it anymore. But from be practically homebounded because she didn't never know when her mind will just switch off, struggling to caring about her child, struggling to work, you know, cannot drive because, you know, I was driving and then not driving because the mind will just switch off. After just like 1 month, her life changed totally to the way that she didn't dissociate anymore at all. And so she started working again, and they even start planning moving to do work she wants to do. She had to give up because of that. It's like, you know, her relationship with her daughter absolutely changes it because she was present mom and can take care of her. Her relationship with the husband, which was very caring and loving, but, you know, the wife was very demanding and care, and now she could be also that partner who can support him in you know his life. So that's also like amazing to watch that how powerful it can be. Or from the guys, and I think it's really important to realize that it's not shame to go to therapy for guys because it can really help. And I had the guy who was in his 50s and he came off originally with the issues that he would want to lose some weight, that he knows that he's overeating, especially in the night. The night eating, it's one of the type of eating disorders. And when we start looking at that, we find out that he actually was sexually abused as a child. He never told anybody because nobody believed him, that one person he told in that time. And you just kind of hold it inside, that hurt and that shame and, you know, that really big traumatic period of his life. It wasn't one-off. And it's developed, you know, all this aggression and be controlling and be angry with their children. And he said, like, I don't want to, I love them, but I don't know why. I'm just like, that's just coming out in moments and stuff, like not be present, or we work too much because just want to numb all that feelings, or eat in the night just to numb that feelings. And his life changed in 3 months, like absolutely so radically that not just that he lost you know, significant amount of the weight, you know, like about 20 kilos, but he become calm, present, his children was happy that he's communicative, helping them with his schoolwork, going for holidays. His relationship with the wife changed, so that's I got a letter from his wife, thank you for giving me my husband back,
Wow.
so it's about that it's not shame, and it can change like so significantly.
This is
So it's
beautiful.
why I like to do that.
Yeah, significantly and quickly. Barb, could you please tell us more about your program you created, Complex PTSD Blueprint?
Mhm.
I would love to know more.
I find out that in many trainings for therapists, counselors, psychologists, psychiatrists, social workers, mental health workers, there's actually lacking the explanation. First of all, explanation how really trauma is created, how it's actually manifesting in behaviors, what everything is trauma, what type of traumas we have, and how to, even when people don't know that they were traumatized, how to recognize it, how to help them to identify it. That's those first aspects. So I kind of started to be asked by so many people, like, is this trauma? Is this trauma? Is this trauma? It's like, okay, I need to put together like something that people will know how to recognize trauma. And then came the next phase, and many people don't know what everything needs to happen to actually recover. The recovery from trauma have the 4 stages, and it's not the first stage is that the recognition of trauma and sourcing when it's coming from. Second stage is changing, releasing it, reprogramming. And then is the third stage, which is trauma grieving, which is very overlooked and underestimated part of recovery. And the fourth stage is finding who you are and really redefine the characteristic of person. And so I put together, as you said, I studied these things for 30 years, practice also on myself and with many other people with different settings. And so this 9 weeks long training, really going through the journey, which just needs to be taken with the clients to really deep understanding, and with examples how to recognize trauma, what are different types of trauma. We have trauma also generational, ancestral, cultural shock, and many things, many varieties of what can happen, what everything causing, and how. Through deep understanding of trauma responses, of all 4 trauma responses, and how we can recognize them and how we can switch them off. Through adding to toolbox, like for people in any position can use, even in coaching settings or in counseling, what can help their clients to actually reach to their sources of the trauma and release them. Strategy and how to teach people the strategies to be functional adult. I call it adult 101.
This is nice.
because truth be told, that we're speaking often about behaviors of people with the trauma that are childish, that they are, tantrum as a toddler, or like crying too much as a little child. But true is that they living in their mind, living in that age of the child. When we are in the survival mode, we really struggle to educate ourselves. We are getting more knowledge, getting more skills, and that's the part. So empower the therapists and coaches with the tools which they can work with the clients to help them to learn them quickly, what they need to know to be functional, and how to learn assertivity, how to learn express themselves, how to learn working with their emotions, and to the level of help the therapists or coaches, those who attending the course, how to integrate it to their practice. And I think that that's also important, that we all choosing niches or areas we work with, and that's fine, and I'm absolutely supporting it, but everybody should know where on the journey of recovery trauma their niche is, and understand with in which phase the client coming to them, and be able to recognize if that client is fit for them, or if they should recommend him to somebody else, and to whom, or what the person needs to be able to do with them, and it really help people, and really so what I see in those who went through program, they are confident to work with the complex PTSD. They are confident to work with people with coming with more complex issues, or they are reacting calmly, presently, is coming unexpected things. And it's about that. The people would say, I have the happy childhood. We spoke in the beginning, but I had a client who told me that have happy childhood. And then when we look what really was happening, it was that he was beating up and every weekend and put to the basement, to the black cellar. So his mind didn't think that he had a happy childhood. He just normalized. So that are the things we speaking about on the course, to the deep detail, manifestation of different techniques, and really it's really unique and comprehensive and intensive, of course, to empower people to work with trauma, because truth be told that everybody who come work need to work on confidence, or even finding their purpose, or feeling low self-esteem. There's something happened to them in the past. So it's important to understand how to find that, but also that wider things about that maybe it's not even theirs. It can be generational, it can be ancestral, and how it's working and how it's manifesting on the body and why, and a really deep understanding of the physical manifestation. That's also part of the course, to be able to see and help clients to recover also physically from the pain, from autoimmune disorders or headaches, skin problems, etc.
How people can contact you? What is the best way to contact you?
Well, probably easiest way for many, it's I'm on the Facebook as the Barb Smith Varclova or Your Step Counseling, or I have the website where you can find my services and also information about the course, which is your-steps.co.uk. And that is possible to book free call. People can just want to chat. That's the best way. And discuss how I can help them, or if they would want to know more about the course. Happy to speak about that.
Great. And how do you serve clients? In English and also in Czech?
Yeah, I'm working with clients in English and Czech. Yeah.
Okay, beautiful. Thank you so much, Barb. Thank you so much. Wishing you all the best.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak with you.
Thank you, and thank you everyone for listening. And until the next episode, take care.